going to run an intro, and then we'll get right to it.
All right, guys, how's everybody doing today? Woo! I know it's early, and most of you are hungover, but let's have a little bit more enthusiasm. No? Come on! All right. So, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little panel with WWE Hall of Famer Jerry Lawler. We're going to have a little panel with former hardcore European and tag team champion Al Snow. We're going to tell some stories. It'll be fun. We're going to do a little short intro, and I'll bring them both out. Sound good? Yeah. All right. Let's go random one. Gentlemen, the first individual I want to go ahead and bring out to us. He is a former hardcore champion. He is a former tag team champion and European champion. He is also the CEO of a great brand called Collar and Elbow, which you can get downstairs. Great soft t-shirts. I got one on now. Ladies and gentlemen, please let me welcome Al Snow. And also, coming to the stage, WWE Hall of Famer, the king of professional wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry the King Lawler. What does everybody want? What does everybody need?
A little slow on the music there.
Well, you know, timing was never my thing.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for coming out to Days of the Dead. What do you guys think so far?
Did you do what he said with the microphone?
Yeah, I
I did, but it's, I have a metal plate in my head from an injury in the war in World War II.
Well, you look good. You look good for your age then in World War II.
Thank you.
All right, so
It's always nice to be for an intimate little gathering like this. It's
Absolutely.
always enjoyable. It's more fun than a big crowd. Yeah.
well, all right. So I just got a couple questions, and I'm going to throw it out to these guys, see if they got a couple questions. But the main thing that I always ask the wrestlers when we come up here is, both of you guys have done a little bit of work in horror movies beyond pro wrestling. You know, Jerry's been in Girls Gone Dead, which is a great Netflix film that you can find. And Al's been in so many horror movies at this point that I don't even know where to start naming them. So
I don't either.
what do you guys think the crossover is between horror, because Days of the Dead is essentially a horror convention. What do you think is that crossover appeal between horror and pro wrestling?
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah,
It is a tough question.
yeah, I don't, I think, wrestling's like a live action comic book in a lot of ways. And, horror movies and all that are larger than life characters and wrestlers are. And, share an audience and we'll just, microphone keeps going on. But I can talk to you like this, it's like, it's not like you're way in the back. Because it is a horror convention and clearly Halloween and a lot of people came disguised as chairs. So.
At least in my case, I've been a horror movie fan my entire life. I mean, as a kid living in Amherst, Ohio, which was a little small town about 25 miles west of Cleveland. And this was back in the day when you could walk to, kids could walk without their parents to school or walk to, in our case there, a movie theater. And I remember going to see some of the great, they went through a stretch there where they showed a bunch of the old Universal monster movies, the Frankenstein, the Mummy, and the Wolfman, and all those at the theater. And the cool thing about it, that added to the fun for me, was there was a stretch of houses lived on the end, and then there was a sort of like a little valley that you had to go down. It was probably only as far as maybe from this wall to that wall back there, but it was a little downhill thing, and there was a sort of a creek running on either side of the road, and it was a little wooded area, and it was dark at night, so that was like just added to the suspense and the scariness of going to and from one of these horror movies, So it really, it kind of affected me personally, and then I became a big fan of when the Monster Mask came out. Rick Baker, the guy that started making Monster Mask and everything, they advertised it in the back of the famous Monster magazines and stuff. I started buying a lot of those, and I still have a collection of those Monster Masks, and I've had those for years. And I was the first guy, I think, that maybe when Jerry Jarrett owned the Memphis Wrestling Company, started in 1977, being a part owner of that company. I was the first guy, and he and I traded off terms of booking the matches. And so, much to the chagrin of Jerry Jarrett, he thought it was the craziest idea ever. But I wanted to incorporate and use those wrestling masks that I owned as wrestlers. And so I started, the first character I booked was, I put a guy in a Frankenstein mask, brought him out on TV, we built this box like a coffin, kind of big wooden crate, and we brought it out, stood by the announcers for about 45 minutes, and Lance Russell, Dave Brown said, well, Jerry, and Lance Russell said, what the Sam Hill is in this box? I said, don't worry about it, I'll show you later. And so anyway, then about halfway through the show, I come out and I unlock the padlock on it, open the door, and here's this guy inside in the full Frankenstein outfit, and I called him Dr. Frank. And so we started booking Dr. Frank, and then after that, I booked, I don't know how many different,
didn't you have Freddie at one point?
We booked Jason. Freddie, we had Jason, we had the Mummy,
which you had
Igor.
His finger off and the sand poured out.
Yes.
That, yeah.
But my favorite of all time, you can go on YouTube and see this, it's just so good, was
the Christmas creature.
Well, that was actually my son's creation. My son Kevin created Christmas Creature, who went on to become Kane. Yeah, that scarred him for life. Being the Christmas Creature. But my favorite was we booked the guy for Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and so the deal with I had this big blow-off match with Leatherface, and I was, as you know, Al, every now and then when things would get really tough for me in a match, I would wind up throwing a big fireball on my opponent. So I got this match with Leatherface, and I think Jimmy Hart was in my corner or whatever, and I'm thinking, well, how, if I throw the fireball on him, he's got on a shirt, and then he's got on this bloody apron, and then he's got on a mask, so the fireball's not going to really affect him that much. So I get with Jimmy Hart, and I have this little squeeze bottle, or just a little squeeze tube that usually they would use it like to put blood in or something, like to and that's where I got it, like this magic shop, and it was a thing that you would, and then I remember now, it came with a little squeeze tube, a little, like a razor blade, a plastic razor blade on the end, and you can hold the squeeze tube in your hand, and you pull the razor blade across, and then you could squirt the blood out of the little tube. Well, I took the little tube off and filled it with lighter fluid. And so I told Jimmy Hart, I said, look, I'll get Leatherface over by you in the corner there, and I said, you squirt the lighter fluid all over the front of his apron there. So
It's going to go well.
we did that. Squirts the lighter fluid all over the apron. And so then I get ready. Here comes Leatherface towards me in the corner. I throw the fireball. He catches on fire, and he doesn't go out. It's just like, I'm like, oh my gosh. And he's looking down, and he starts patting, and all I can see, of course, are his real eyes. And he's looking at me like, and he starts patting himself, and then the fire goes down and starts coming up his back, around his whole crotch is on fire. And I finally had to knock him down and stomp the fire out of my own opponent. I was trying to put him out. But that was just some of the fun we had with the monsters down in our territory. And as I said, my partner, Jerry hated it whenever I would book the monsters. But I loved it because I loved the horror crossover into wrestling.
Love it. So, both you guys are still working, still wrestling towns every night. Been doing it a while. What is
Not
it?
every night, but
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Every weekend. How about every weekend?
almost every week.
Almost every week. Not this weekend though.
Right.
But almost every weekend. What is it for both of you guys that still motivates you to get in that ring and you keep going every week?
Tell the truth. We'll say it at the same time. Money.
Well, I guess that's the honest answer. That's fair. That's
Yeah, I
fair.
mean, I tell everybody, they say, when are you going to quit wrestling? When are you going to retire? And I say, when they quit paying me to do it. When people quit asking me to come and offer me $3,000 or $4,000 to have a wrestling match. And then when that stops, I won't do it anymore.
Yeah, but there's nothing else like it. I mean, it's hard to describe, but when you're in that ring, honestly, it's the most awesome thing in the world. That's why we really keep doing it too, is because you just, the joke is, in wrestling, the joke was always, you pay X amount of dollars to learn how to get in the business, and then to really make money, we charge guys even more to teach them how to get out of it. Because once you're in it, you just can't leave it. It gets in you. It becomes who you are.
Fair enough. I like it. Both of you guys have ventures now outside of pro wrestling. Al, you're here with the Collar and Elbow wrestling, the wrestling brand of T-shirts, hats, and whatnot. And Jerry, you've got Jerry Lawler's barbecue over there in Memphis, looking to franchise.
Right.
And so if anybody's interested in opening a franchise,
Awesome.
you hit up JerryLawler.com.
Absolutely, Louisville would be awesome.
It's true.
It would be great.
It's a good place. And I also do magic for the blind. I do it right now, but I have to say Tada a lot, or they don't know anything happening. They love card tricks. I'm like, hey, is this your card? They go, I don't know. I go, it is. Ta-da! And they're like, oh my God, how do you do it? So it's kind of my way of giving back to the community and doing things. I'll go to KFCs and VWAs and places like that. And it's awesome. They love it. I don't have to practice much.
All right, I'm not going to be able to follow that at all. So does anybody out here have a question for either Jerry, Al, or both? Nobody? Come on, somebody. I knew somebody
It's
did.
the interactive part of the show.
This is the interactive part of the show.
Let's talk about the Cleveland Indians. He's got the Indian shirt on.
Al, I was curious if did you ever respond to all the beating you took in Mick Foley's book?
I don't, Mick is like obsessed with me to the point where I think like he's like got a sexual crush or something. I mean, otherwise, why would anyone spend this much time and that much effort to continually talk about it? I mean, it's weird. So, but I do always say, like, if it wasn't for all of his remarks in his book, his life story would be like his penis, a short one. So.
Ouch! Shots fired. All right.
James, how often did you announce a match?
How often? Well,
I did Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, and the pay-per-views for a total of about 23 years.
You never missed one, you did too.
Well, no, I missed a few, like when I died after I missed.
Well, yeah, after you died, but I mean, before you died.
You had to kill me to get me off the air.
It's true, yeah, literally had to kill you.
Yeah. No, and somebody told me I just did, they called me up, or they actually didn't call me, I got a text message from Michael Cole this past Monday in Memphis. It was, I'll never forget, I looked down at my phone, 3:47 in the afternoon, I get a text message from Michael Cole that said, "Get your ass to the FedEx Forum, we need you to do commentary tonight on Raw." So that, and then when I get over there, I found out that was the, I think 997th Raw that I've done. So almost 1,000 Raws, which would be more than anybody that's ever been in the company has done. Yeah.
What's the best advice that you could give someone who's green in the business from worker to worker?
Usually the typical answer is get out.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah, but I tell everyone the same thing. Invest time, money, and effort in yourself, because you're asking the fans to invest their time and money and effort to pay to see you, and you're asking a promoter to invest their time and money and effort to promote you. If you want to be successful, then invest the time, money, and effort in yourself. Be honest. Lie to anybody you want, but don't lie to yourself. If you're not passionate about doing it, get out. Don't bother. Because it doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter how many skills you have, doesn't matter how big you are, how tall you are, how good looking you are, how well you talk, how well you wrestle, what moves you do. If you're not passionate about doing it, you're not going to succeed. And you're not going to survive. They'll eat you alive.
Yes.
This is for both of y'all. Who's y'all's favorite wrestling partner to wrestle with, like opponents?
Favorite opponents.
Or favorite partner? Or
Your favorite opponents.
Mine would be Head. and my favorite opponent would be me. I wrestle myself all the time. I get a free 5 minutes. I'm wrestling myself.
Put yourself over?
I put myself over all the time. Yeah. Oh, I don't know, so I'll self-put myself.
I think my guy that I always enjoyed working with or had fun wrestling, and it's all because I was just always such a big fan of his, and I love to watch any of his matches, but then to be in a match with him was always great. It was Terry Funk. I love Terry Funk, and as a matter of fact, talking about why we still do this stuff, next month Terry Funk is going to come out of retirement again for the 1,000th time, and
Many times as you commentated Raw.
yes, exactly. Me and my son Brian Christopher and Dangerous Doug Gilbert are going to be in a 6-man tag against the Rock and Roll Express and Terry Funk. So that's a couple of North Carolina. That's going to be fun.
That'd be a fun match to watch.
Yes, for both of you, do you think with all the social media and the internet, do you think it's stripped away too much of the mystique of wrestling that's had over the years? And trying to keep the hobby and all that, or it's brought too much into personal lives and wrestlers?
Well, that's up to the wrestlers. The wrestlers, should, if they're not, you have to be what you were in the ring all the time. And if you're on social media, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, don't do it. If you want to be you, then make one account be you, and then the other account, and just for your friends and family, and then the public account be who you are in the ring. Yeah. I think it still is. I think the mystique's still there. It's just that the wrestlers, it's back, I hate to say it, but it's back to the wrestlers. The wrestlers have to maintain that mystique. When you paid to see Elvis, where's the only place you saw Elvis? Only on the stage. Even in this day and age, Lady Gaga, the only place you're going to see, she's got, I think, how many millions of followers on Twitter and, everything else on social media, but you only see Lady Gaga. You don't see anything else. You just see her doing her And she's a gimmick. And wrestlers have to do the exact same thing to maintain that mystique.
But I think maybe what you may be alluding to is something like, and I will say that yes, I think that the social media and internet has done a lot of damage, and maybe not intentionally, but I mean, just like it's killed print media, you know, it's killed a lot of things, and I think it's hurt the wrestling business in the sense that it does take away the mystique. I mean, when you see somebody like Triple H and Stephanie McMahon going out on TV and trying to be the meanest villains that they possibly can and make people hate them, and then you can look on their Twitter page and she's visiting, you know, little kids in the hospital and all of that sort of stuff, and she's empowering women through all of the different programs. You know, it's that right there is almost like a slap in the face to the people that you're trying to get to still believe or set aside that disbelief, you know, long enough to enjoy the matches. But that still goes back to what Al said. The business did it to itself on social media. Once social media got out there, that's what they do now. But that goes back then to when Vince came out and said, hey, it's not sport, it's sports entertainment. And, you know, that's when you can't put that genie back in the bottle. So it's different now.
I've got a quick question for you. So, like you said, you know, it's the wrestler makes the gimmick. What has been probably, what would you say would be the most ridiculous or most outlandish gimmick that you've ever been asked to be?
I've never been asked to be?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, he's only been...
or what, you know, gimmick storyline that you've been at great gimmicks for, like, is that
Oh gosh. Well, back in the horror days, I did double duty. Just because I was such a fan of it, I put on the Jason outfit and wrestled in a monster battle royal that we had in Memphis one time, and then came out as wrestled as me later on in the night. But as far as the goofy gimmicks, I don't know. People like, you know, poor old Jimmy Hart. And different guys that we had, you know, those are the guys that the managers usually had to suffer through the goofy gimmicks of wearing a chicken suit, or Bobby the Brain Heenan a weasel suit, and stuff like that. They actually asked me to wear, and I did, wear the complete Burger King outfit in the WWE with the real. You remember when the Burger King first commercial came out, and he had the ridiculous, scary-looking plastic mask. But yeah, I had to wear that. But they did compensate me $5,000 for being Burger King in just a little run-in match with, I think Jimmy Snuka was out there or something.
I think the most ridiculous thing I ever did was I wrestled a bear. So, it's dumb. Because they beat the shit out of me. They're horrible.
Oh my gosh, I was going to say, way back in the day, that was a great gimmick when you could get Nick Adams. Nick Adams was the guy that owned the bear.
Yeah. No, it wasn't.
When he would come through your territory, it was great.
No, it wasn't.
You know what?
Beat the hell out of me.
Oh yeah.
They they teach it out, like you look behind it and you like grab its chest hair, it would snap mare you.
Yeah.
It snap mare me so hard I thought my feet flew off.
They're natural wrestlers. The
Yeah.
Bears really, I guess where the move bear hug comes from, but they really do natural wrestling moves without even being taught.
When they club you, like it just, you shot across the ring, like it was like boom, and it just, I went, all the air went out of me, and, you know, it was stiff. It completed the crap out of me. It was, Lou Martinez, right before I go out. He goes, can you just be careful, be careful. I go, I'm going to. He goes, well, look, you don't want to have happen to me. And he's missing like the end of his finger because he had wrestled bear for the Funks in Texas. And
got inside the muzzle.
It went in the muzzle and the bear bit off his finger. So I'm standing there just about to go out to wrestle a bear and I'm like, oh shit. At one point the bear got on top of me, right? And it's like gnawing on my head, but it couldn't get to anything. And it's just like, and I'm screaming, and I've got slobber all over me, and my hair, and Oh, it was terrible.
Well, that used to be the finish of the bear matches was the bear trainer, in our case down in Tennessee, was a guy named Nick Adams, and he owned a bear called Gentleman Ben, and instead of Gentle Ben, he's Gentleman Ben, and of course he would have to be, he would bring the bear into the ring, and his opponent would be all scared and everything, and then
Shoot,
and then he would kind of take the leash off the bear would go through you, and you do your few wrestling moves, and then the finish was because the bear didn't know how to pin somebody, and you certainly couldn't pin the bear. So the finish of the match would always be the handler would take the muzzle off the bear, and then of course his opponent would then leave the ring and be counted out. But yeah, it was a scary thing when the muzzle came off.
I hate to leave the ring.
It was on then.
All I could think of was that missing finger.
And actually, Gentleman Ben, that Nick Adams, I think it was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He would drive around from town to town, and had the bear and a little trailer that he had built for it, so like a little small U-Haul trailer. And sometimes the bear didn't want to make his bookings, so what Nick would have to do, he'd have the collar around the bear, and the bear wouldn't come out of the trailer, and so he would literally have to get in his car and tie the leash to like a pole or a tree or something, and then drive ahead till it pulled the bear out of the trailer. And one night, it choked the bear to death, trying to pull him out of the trailer. So he had to get a different bear out. That's my bad bear story.
Well, now, anyway,
On that note, killed a bear, and he killed a lot of towns too.
Jerry?
Yes.
Back there.
Oh, okay.
I'm just curious, with Jake Gale announcing that he's stepping away, you think he'll be coming back full-time to announce it?
No, I do not.
Oh.
No, absolutely not.
That's a mistake.
It's funny when they called and told me, and it was just like, I'll never forget. Lauren, my fiance, and I were walking into Disney World, and I get a call from the WWE, and it was just, as a matter of fact, like I just said, I've been doing the show every week for 23 years or something like that, and they just called up and said, hey, King, we're going to make some changes, and not changes to make things better, just changes to make things different. And that was the way it was explained to me. They said, so we're going to put somebody else on this time I was doing SmackDown, put somebody else on the SmackDown announcement. And so right now we don't have anything else for you. It was just as simple as that, And so then I've gone this, but then the following week, call me back. And that was what my contract was up, call me back and re-signed another contract. I was never really not under contract to them, but just re-signed another deal where scheduled to make X amount of appearances at X amount of pay-per-views and just be available to do, whatever they wanted me to do. Just like this past week, filling in and then call a match at WrestleMania and doing the panels and that sort of stuff. So basically what we call a keep you off the street contract, keep you from going somewhere else. But I have really come to enjoy the time, not time off, but not having to be in that grind where you've got to be in that same somewhere every single week. I mean, for 23 years, I've not been able to take a trip. We have a condo down in Fort Myers, Florida, and I've never been able to go to my condo and stay more than 4 days at a time because you have 3 days of travel time when you go, to Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. So, and it's funny. Lauren asked me the other day. She said, what would you do now if they asked you to come back full time? And I honestly would say no. I really like what I'm doing now, and I enjoy. I get to go and do a lot of Comic Cons and things like this, and then still wrestle every weekend. So it's there's still a fair amount of travel, but it's on my schedule. I can have my own schedule travel.
This is for both of you. You could come back and have one last match in WWE. Who would you like to work with?
Whoever's getting paid the most at this time. Whoever it is, whoever's the biggest, payday for the opponent, that's the one I want to wrestle.
What's the biggest, have you ever shared with anybody what's your biggest payoff for any, like a single match in the WWE that you got? No? No. My biggest was, believe it or not, with Michael Cole, the WrestleMania match. And
I hope so. You put him over, right?
yeah. Well, I did not technically. Well, technically, I guess I did. But no, I won, and he's tapped out, and then the anonymous general manager, who, by the way, turned out to be, in that crazy situation, turned out to be Hornswoggle, who I think is here today.
He's downstairs.
I'm going to beat his little ass right now for that. Because Cole reminds me of that. Even last Monday night on Raw, he reminded me of that, that thing. But I was shocked at the $125,000 payoff for that one match, which was cool. Yeah, I mean, huge. So that was my favorite match.
Keep that program going.
Yeah, Cole certainly wanted to. But if I came back now, I think we could do something with Dolph Ziggler, because he was the guy literally that gave me the 10 elbows that caused me to die on TV. And then I did come back and do the little King's Court with him on SmackDown not long ago, and he kicked me again.
Killing me is pretty serious.
Yeah, that's a serious heat. And poor Dolph, I don't understand can anybody figure out what they're doing with Dolph Ziggler? I mean, they keep trying different stuff and nothing seems to work. I don't know if it's Dolph or if it's just the wrong kind of push they keep getting. I like Dolph. I mean, he's a good talent, I think. Yeah.
So I've just got one more question for each one of you guys, and then, we'll let you get back down there, meet all your great fans, sign some autographs, sell some t-shirts, sell some art.
Do some magic.
Do some magic. You gotta close your eyes, though. You gotta close your eyes.
It's not the same. If you have your eyes open, it's not gonna work.
So
shut your eyes. I'll say to God, it'll all be amazing. That's what I tell my wife. Shut your eyes. I'll say to God, it'll be amazing.
Okay. So just
no, I've got more. Oh, the Jesse the Body? No, they're too politically correct now, and you have to be so careful what you say. And King's not there. So I'm not saying it just to put him over. It's true.
And part of that is because of social media. The critics on social media, every single word that you say is everything you say is going to offend somebody.
What happens when you get offended? I'm just curious. Does anybody know? Do you have to take off work? When did sticks and stones break your bones and words can't hurt you? When did that change? I'm just curious.
But now all of those people with social media, every one of those people that get offended so easily have a voice, and they have a platform that they can really reach. I mean, the WWE has several people that are hired that are social media department, and all they do is look at every tweet, every text, and everything that comes in.
I've met one guy, and they've got people who follow. If you've ever been there, they follow your social media.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So anything you say, I'll give you a little example. We were doing a Raw Talk or something, Renee Young and I, and they brought out Nia Jax and I think Bailey or somebody came out as a guest on this little, talking smack or something, the post show after a pay-per-view that absolutely nobody is watching, you figure. And so I tried to throw a little joke out there, and I just saw it go shoo right over their head. But anyway, Nia Jax, no, it wasn't. Nia Jax was not there. We were talking about Nia Jax. It was Bailey and maybe Sasha Banks, I think. And so they were one of them was gonna have to wrestle. What's her name? Nia Jax. Yeah. So anyway, one of them's gonna have to wrestle, and I said, girls, Nia Jax. I mean, I'm sure you know how big she is. I mean, she is big. I mean, I heard that she got hit by a car the other day. It took 2 surgeons to remove it. Right? and there's my joke, right? And so, and Bailey and Sasha Banks went. And I said, okay, Renee, back to you. And so all of a sudden, boom, social media blows up. Jerry Lawler's calling Nia Jax fat. Right? Yeah, well, I called her, but the words was that I called her fat. They had to go back, and they called me up, they had to go back, pull that tape out, and watch and listen to what I said word for word to make sure that I didn't say the word fat. And which I didn't, but that's how critical and that's how important social media is to the company now. You know, they're just like, and then something like that would get you where they say, don't put Lawler back on those shows. It's going to offend somebody. I called the Scott Stanford Harambe face one day, and they like the company shut down. They broke the internet, you know, and because he was growing this beard, it was No Shave November or something like that, and so I did say, hey, you know, maybe don't go to any zoos, Harambe face, you're liable to get shot, right? And so,
that's funny though.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I mean, that's really good.
But all of a sudden, the animal rights people and all of these animal lovers and tree huggers started blowing up social media to WWE, and they went back and they pulled that off the network. They took that off. Crazy.
Just think if you said something stuff you said 20 years ago.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! They'd set him on fire. What was your question?
Well, that was a nice lead-in to my question.
Oh, good.
Because before all of the PC and everything being politically correct, you actually had a run-in with it, Al, where you had an action figure that was and head.
Which was awesome.
And it was an awesome action
for like
figure.
a week and a half. I had Wolf Blitzer in the backseat of my car. Just riding around. That was awesome. So 2 women who were assistant professors of communications at a college in Georgia, of all homes, went into a Walmart. No need to do any actual homework or anything. Let's just espouse our opinion in a public forum. Saw my action figure and automatically assumed, and I quote, it was a training manual for future spousal users, which I told the toy maker they might want to include as a marketing ploy, and they were like, no, we don't want that. They wrote a letter to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and it was printed, and then Walmart, that action figure is number 5 on the list of 21 things that Walmart considers unsafe for all of you to buy. Now, keep in mind, I was beat out by pregnant Barbie. It was number 1. But you can still go to Walmart today, buy yourself an AR-15, it's the truth, live ammo, and a hunting knife so that you can cut up your victim and bury it in different places. But you can't buy my action figure because it will teach your children how to beat up their wives. And if anybody needs, I'll be downstairs. I'll be holding a class on exactly that. And a young man like you, if you get married, trust me, they're not the weaker sex. Let me tell you. Okay? They will beat the crap out of you. If you're ever going to start a fight with a woman, do it in public. That way security will pull her off. Because not only will they beat your ass, they will cut a promo on you the whole time they're doing it. Women are incredible. You know why? They have children. They have you, okay? If we were to do that, men, we'd be like shitting a 10-pound pumpkin. They literally nip up out of bed the next day at the hospital, and you have to argue with them to ride in a wheelchair to get out, right? I'd be in there for a year. I wouldn't move.
You know, that's one of the oldest arguments in the world. Like, what is that women will often say, you know, that's the greatest or the worst pain in the world is giving birth, right? And I always said the worst pain in the world is getting kicked in the testicles.
It is pretty bad.
Because here, let me ask you this.
That's really bad.
A lot of women give birth, and then like a year later they say, oh, I think I'll do that again. I'll have another baby. But I've never seen a man that got kicked in the testicles saying, hey, I don't think I want to do that again.
Yeah. Woke up this morning, you know what I need to do? I need to get kicked in the testicles.
No.
Hey, let's not forget Jackass.
Jackass?
Oh yeah, those guys. Yeah,
I think I paid a lot of money to get kicked in the testicles. I don't care how much money you pay me, I don't want to get kicked in the testicles. or have a bowling ball or anything else launched at them.
We have really gotten off track on
Yeah,
that.
we really went off.
That's all good.
We were going down the old information highway and then took an exit.
And then, you know, Jerry, I got one more question for you because I think you're going to be the only one that can truly give us at least any insight on it. But why is Andy Kaufman not in the WWE Hall of Fame?
I have no idea. No, I don't. I've pitched it many times, and I know a lot of people have pitched it. But you know that is absolutely, totally up to Vince. Vince makes the final decision every year, and that's not to say that he won't ever be. But if you look, once again, probably being politically correct, the Hall of Fame inductees have become. It's a formula. You know, you have to have a female, you have to have an African American, you have to have a dead person. So I mean, there's just a certain formula that has to go in every year, and I think Andy just hadn't made the dead person list yet.
Well, we all know Andy's not dead, so I'm sure if it's a Hall of Fame induction, he might actually come out of hiding.
Well, that's true.
Along with Bruce Lee and Elvis.
But you're right. I mean, even for the
Tupac.
Even for the celebrity,
Tupac too soon.
yeah, for the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame or something like that. I mean, what's his name? The guy from Price is Right.
Bob Barker?
No, not Bob Barker. Yeah, Drew. Yeah, Drew Carey is in there, right?
Yeah, Vince had nothing to do with the Andy Kaufman thing, that's why.
Yeah, that they did something. And in actuality, his dad actually turned it down. It was offered to them first. Andy actually went to Vince Sr. Because Andy was from Long Island, New York, and he actually went to Vince Sr. and told him, he said, I would just love to wrestle. And his pitch was, I want to wrestle women in front of a wrestling audience. He said, I've been doing it in comedy clubs, I've done it on Saturday Night Live, but those people, they just don't respond like a wrestling crowd was. And he said, I just would like to do it, in front of wrestling fans. And Vince Sr., and it was, probably the same thing a lot of people would have told him at the time. He said, Andy, I appreciate it, but our fans are so skeptical now anyway, and I just am hesitant to involve a Hollywood actor with our wrestlers because I don't want the wrestling fans to think that we're just all Hollywood actors. And that was how Bill Apter, thank goodness, overheard the conversation and knew Andy and told Andy about our promotion down in Memphis, and that's how we got the history.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. Everybody, Al, Jerry, they're both going to be downstairs signing. So go ahead and get in their lines. I want to thank both of you coming out. Check out Collar and Elbow. Also listen to Dinner with the King on your favorite podcast stations, Jerry Lawler. And your co-host name is?
Glenn Moore.
Glenn Moore. All right. So everybody give a round of applause for Al Snow, Jerry the King Lawler. Thank you guys very much.
And in the podcast, Glenn Moore gets very upset if I don't plug it at every chance I get. But coming up this week, we're going to have Austin Idol, who we have a long history with. Austin Idol is going to be a guest on there. And I told Glenn, I told Glenn Moore, I said, look, I don't want to do a podcast because I don't want to go around and put the pressure on my friends and ask them to give up their time to be on the podcast. So I haven't done that. But anyway, then he puts out a little questionnaire about what you want the podcast to be about. So some of the people voted for the Bret Hart history, all the stuff that Bret Hart and I did. And Glenn Moore gets on a email and emails Bret Hart and asks him if he would be on the podcast. And Bret Hart sends back and said, I don't do podcasts. But, and he read me the text. He said, I hold the King in the highest regard, so I will do his podcast. So in 2 weeks, we're going to have Bret the Hitman Hart on my podcast.
Days of the Dead alumni, Bret the Hitman Hart. Yes.
First.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, guys.